Good to hear recording starting.
Oh, we're good.
Huh?
We're good.
Okay, all right. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I
Move.
so move.
John, okay. Motion made and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Approval of the minutes from January 2nd of 24. Need a motion.
I can make that.
Can you disperse with the minutes?
Yeah, we're doing that now, John.
I got them clear down here, so we're copacetic.
You making a second then, or?
Yes.
Motion made and second to approve the minutes from January 2nd. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Public comment. Any public comment? Seeing or hearing none. Receipt from information the supervisors not seated as committee members. Okay,
Here, I don't know if you want to speak or not.
he's shaking his head no.
Oh, he was.
So I looked at it.
Excited.
Update from Public Works.
Good afternoon. We are waiting on the start date for the fair show barn. The winning bid was $28,950.45 from American Eagle Roofing. Berghammer has a tentative start date of March 1st for the recycling. Obviously, that was last Friday. They have not started. That's the estimated completion date of August 1st, and this is according to the utility permit that they pulled. Work on the intensive use area continues. CISA re-roofing should start this month. The bridge on 270th was hit for the second time this year already, and we have been sending pictures and informing the DNR every time. This time they left their air conditioning unit hanging in the beams of the bridge. So if they didn't know it, they will this summer, I guess. We are anticipating initial site work will begin at Clam Falls Dam this month. We are waiting on some insurance paperwork from London.
Who pays to fix that bridge when it gets hit?
The last time it was paid out of the insurance from the driver. So, and the DNR does that. So they were aware of us trying to raise that bridge a couple feet. So every time it gets hit, we send pictures and everything to further stake our claim on doing something different with that bridge.
Owned by the DNR then?
And on Google, that shows that's a cut across to bypass Luck. That's why you get so much traffic on that road there on 270th.
And does the town or the DNR have a warning sign there about the height?
That's signed both directions.
And at the bridge itself.
And at the bridge.
Every time that it's been hit, I think except one, it's been by a non-CDL vehicle.
Like a camper.
A camper or a box truck that's under the limit of requiring a CDL. So they have no idea how tall their vehicle is anyway, so you can put all the signs you want. They don't know.
Is
The
that
bridge.
270th in the town of Locke?
Yes,
Yep, John, it is.
Thank you. Thank
Uh,
you.
Does the bridge take the hit? Or does it move?
the beams that they put in now are a lot beefier than there were 6 or 7 of them all.
Yes.
And the ones now, there's only 4 that they put in their place, and they are a lot beefier than the other ones.
This is showing what was left of their air conditioning unit the last time we got hit. Usually they are a hit and run. But we don't get any license plates for insurance reasons for them.
I wonder why the DNR wouldn't put camera.
We actually, during the last repair, DNR was under the notion that it had been hit twice or 3 times in the last 8 years. We mentioned that it last year was hit at least 8 times. The contractor on site said it wouldn't be a large change order to raise the bridge 4 feet at that time. DNR chose not to do that in this project. They didn't have the funding for it. So that's why we're documenting these and making sure they get aware of how many times it gets hit.
I talked to Danny Carlson just because they're going to Wyoming. We didn't have our meetings, but on the phone, we happened to be talking about projects, and he said that you did approve that still for use for the tractors going across.
That is, yes. Yep. Because of the repairs. They couldn't use it last year. They had to go down and cross the road.
Because you repaired it, it got hit after that, but it.
Yeah, there hasn't been any structural damage on either of the two hits this year.
Read it properly when they had a chance. Have to go up there and see that. I haven't seen that. That great.
The town really can't lower the grade underneath the bridge due to the fact that there's a, an active stream that runs right underneath it. So,
Okay, any questions for? Hearing none, we'll move on to the update from highway.
Good afternoon. Working through some of our projects, our County Road V project, working with Mark Peterson's from Arizona Net, going through the 3R slope request with the state on that project. They were proposing that the proposed slopes for the project weren't going to fit into the requirements for the federal funding on that, but we're trying to convince them that we're looking at it as a resurface, not a complete reconstruction. We understand that there'll be impacts to the slopes with the resurface and the wider shoulders on that road, but our consultants working with them, nothing in the traffic crash data really justifies any major changes to that road itself from 35 to Atlas to County Road Z. So we're working through that on with the consultants on that. That one did get pushed back a year due to, I believe, the archaeological study. No, is that correct? County Road F, that project we're working with SEH on there. Vance from SEH, he's our consultant. Project timeline still considered at risk due to utility locating issues on that project. I think I've got that shaken loose as far as getting the coordination with the utility locators so the survey crews can go out and do their work on that project. There's also an amendment in the works to that project for consultant fees due to the locate issues. To increase project cost overall to do the amendment. They're just shuffling some funds that were available on that one. This summer, with our chip seals, we've got approximately 13 miles of counted chip seals. And we're working with the state on putting together a project estimate for a scrub seal on State Road 35 from where they left off near Centuria last year down to Highway 8. And they want to go with the scrub seal. It's a little different process than the chip seal. The oil's quite a bit more expensive, but Mike Estringa from the state, we did one on 48 years ago. He thinks it holds up a little better. So we're going to try a scrub seal on that road. We don't get a PBM this year. It will be a DMA, discretionary maintenance. Funds will be used for that project, and hopefully if the numbers come in good, they'll approve us doing that work for them on that. So instead of just spraying the oil, they drag a broom behind the applicator truck and pull a pool of the oil to penetrate the cracks better, and it's got some rejuvenator agents in the oil. So that will be a pretty good sized project out there. It will be a scrub seal with a fog oil seal over the top of it. And then so far to date, we've got 25 miles of township chip seals that we are working on, that they've spoken for with us to have us do the work. So that's pretty good. That should bring in some revenue to the department. Our bucket truck, this is the last week we've got with our bucket truck. We've made a lot of progress trimming with that this year with the favorable weather conditions. Weight restrictions continue to be an issue. It's been an unpredictable year this year with weight restrictions. I know a lot of the loggers and stuff are frustrated with the weight restrictions in the surrounding counties and ours too. But the way things are looking, if the roads would continue to dry out, we could possibly remove those in the next couple of weeks. Pull them for the season if things continue on the path they're on now. So that would be good and eliminate some headaches also. Staffing, we still are short 2 mechanics in the shop. They're short one for almost 2 years and recently short another mechanic in the shop. So we're looking for 2 positions to get filled there. And then it's time for us to start recruiting seasonals. We reached out today to HR to start looking into the seasonal help recruitment for highway shop. Our RFPs, requests for proposals, will be going out in the paper next Wednesday, March 13th. That will be for our asphalt, gravel, culverts, milling, pulverizing, all those other services we utilize in the summer. So we'll be putting them out in the paper next week. And then upcoming training, we've got our spring MSHA training coming up May 22nd in Menominee at UW Stout for our 8-hour refresher for the crew. And then I've got several of the crew members going up to Burnett County for their new miner training. That's a 24-hour requirement for initial training for new miners for the guys. During COVID, when everything went online and the state or whoever used to host the 24-hour classes in like Eau Claire, we just weren't able to get those classes anymore. Burnett was able to line up a class with a on-site instructor to do the 24-hour. It's 3 days up in Burnett County, but significant savings for us. Approximately $75 to $100 per person for our crew members to go up and do that. It was $500 per person to do the online training portal. So we can get several of our guys that need that 24-hour initial caught up and save some money doing it. And that's all I've got on that.
Any questions for the highway commissioner?
Mr. Chair, is there gonna be a quarterly, meeting? I think the last one was at Barron County. I'll be home next Thursday.
I'm not sure which quarterly.
What
meeting.
quarterly meeting you talking about, John?
Haven't we, in the past, didn't we have a quarterly, meeting of, 9 counties or something?
Well, we have the Northwest Region meeting for the highway commissioners with some WISDOT staff that usually attends. The only one I know of is the fall commissioner and committee men training that they usually do. They used to do it up in Hayward. That's the only one I'm aware of.
That's the one you're talking
Okay.
about, John, is when we get together with the committee and the commissioners.
Correct.
I don't know what date that is.
It's usually in the fall.
Usually in the fall, and there's one in the spring too, right? Usually? No, just in the fall.
We've gone down to this the fall.
So it'll be this coming fall, John.
Okay.
Sheriff's update. Oh, we got a question.
Do we need, it says here with the resolution 824, do we need to do any action selective
Oh, yeah, I missed that.
awareness, food safety zone? Awareness.
You just need to forward that on to the county board. Is that what we need to do, Mo?
Yes.
Motion to move resolution 0824 to the county board with
Second with my recommendation.
Yeah.
Second.
motion made and second to forward resolution 0824 to the county board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Good catch there, young man. Okay, so Sheriff, you're up.
All right, sheriff is out today. He wasn't able to make the meeting. I'm handing out our drug stats for 2023. Thank you, sir. And this is a little low. Last year we were understaffed. Things are getting a lot better for us on staffing, so our numbers, we hope to improve. Our drug investigator had a bunch of time off for maternity leave, so just some factors in there that affected the numbers a little bit. You can see on there the task force, that's a multi-county task force. We did 41 cases with them. We have one deputy who did 31 cases on his own. This isn't our drug investigator. It's one of our canine deputies. So he's really out there pumping it and doing a good job. So, and then you can see how the other ones are broken down between deputies and other villages. Any questions about the drug stats at all?
So the total felony arrests so far this year, 151.
For 2023, yes. And that might,
Mr. Chair, does the sheriff have any, report on, command post?
yep, I'll get to that in just a second, sir.
We'll get to her, John.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And it's not necessarily drug arrests, it's cases, so it might be multiple people that were arrested with that, so.
Okay.
Since John mentioned the command post, I again reached out to some other vendors. Custom Fire in Osceola has agreed to take on the command post for us to renovate it. So I met with them, we got a contract agreed on, so we're hoping to move forward on that. We're gonna take the old one's got a few more issues that we found on it, so we're taking a lot of our equipment from the old one and putting it in that bus that was donated to us, so. Trying to get that renovated and get it out on usable by June. So, it was nice at Custom.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead, John.
I just said, thank you.
Yep. So, I think Custom Fire, they might have maybe slowed down a little bit or something, but they were able to meet with us and are able to take on this, and they seem really excited about it, so we're hopeful that it.
Yeah, they've got a construction project. They're more than doubling the size of their facility.
Yeah. The only other outfit I could find to do it was a place in Ohio, and I didn't want to drive all the way to Ohio to have it done, so this is awesome that we have a local vendor being able to accommodate that, so. That's about it on the command post. Like I said, staffing with the wage increase, our corrections and dispatcher applications have gone way up. I think we had 12 for jail and 17 for dispatch, which is pretty unreal, so. I think we're interviewing 5 corrections tomorrow and hopefully 5 or 6 communications officers in next week. So that's going very well for us. Dispatch, we have our next gen 911 upgrade going on. Equipment's starting to roll in on that. So what we're doing in dispatch is we're upgrading, remodeling our dispatch center. We're upgrading a bunch of equipment and consoles, the furniture. It's a pretty large project. The state gave us about like $393,000 towards it. So our out-of-pocket cost is probably gonna be about another 400,000, but it'll put us where we need to be for the next generation of 911. This will allow us to do video, text to 911, gives us a lot more usable capabilities with our dispatch center, so.
Awesome.
Yep. That's about it for that. You need me to talk about the resolution at all, or?
I guess we should be versed on it from either you or Mo, one or the other.
You need a
So
motion.
during the,
We just gotta discuss this resolution
Oh.
before we.
the resolution, so last budget season, we're approved through the budget season for a new communications officer. We wanted it to be another supervisor position, to help offset, it's 24/7. We need to have the coverage for supervising dispatchers. So originally we wanted a supervisor position. Somehow it got missed in the budget process. It got put as just a regular communications officer. So we're requesting that just be a letter grade up increase to supervisors versus a regular communication. I think there might be a dollar amount involved with that increase in there.
$3,600. It's to provide supervision for the different shifts in dispatch. So they have a supervisor on duty with each shift.
I know it's been a long time coming. They requested a position for like 3 years prior.
Yeah, since I,
So, and I'm sure, you know, it's busy never in there, so I'm sure it's something we should do. So I'll entertain a motion to forward resolution 0924 to the county board recommendation.
I would move for recommendation.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to forward resolution 0924 to the county board recommendation. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Just for note, it will go to general government also, the budget impact on the 13 million.
Okay, any questions then for the sheriff? Okay, thanks, Don. Morby, you're up.
Yes, Mr. Chair, seems like it's been a while since we met. Couple of things on the report. On January 23rd, I met with Brad Beerson. He's the new tourist, council president. Had a good meeting in my office with him on a new outlook on how the tourism council is gonna, brand our, tourism in Polk County. That went very well. Sales tax in January was down 4.4%, approximately $12,000 from 23. Which was nice to hear. We rebounded back up in February to an increase of 6% or 47,000. So that's a good trend that coming up even with no snow and our snowmobiles not being, snowmobile season not being open. Also key positions that came in, the new zoning administrator, Logan Hacker, started on February 5th. Zoning, that was a big hire. Also the new surveyor, Ed Flannum, started, January 29th. For that division. Good news down at GAM, they started their first CNA in-house training program to train new CNNs to get their certificate before they hire. They could take up to 8 students, but they started with 3. They had 3 applications, so that was a success story down for Dana down there. Polk County Emergency Management will be holding a dual exercise with Dresser EMS. And behavioral health in April, so that's coming on shortly. The county's hazardous mitigation plan will be coming to the committees and the board for approval in the near future. This plan qualifies us for federal funding like for FEMA. And we have had an uptick in placements coming out of CSD. Those costs will be coming to the committees next month to show the impact and how that's going to affect our budget this year with those placement costs. You probably heard of Prevea closing hospitals in Eau Claire that affected our birth to 3 and CSD. CSD has pivoted there with a couple positions, looking to hire a speech therapist and an occupational therapist to cover those mandated services. Good news there, they've had a lot of outreach from the schools and stuff that need those services. So there's a great potential for revenue coming in from the school districts for those services. And then I don't know if you mentioned, Rod, I didn't catch it. The bulletproof glass for the Justice Center came in at $111,000. So that project will be kicking off shortly for the Justice Center. Yes, you can.
I just wanted to add one thing as it relates to the closure of the hospitals in Eau Claire. Because it's going to have an impact on law enforcement. That's one of the hospitals that we have for people who are having a mental health crisis and are dangerous in the community. And although a lot of folks were already going down to Winnebago, the state mental health hospital, this is only going to increase that, which is going to increase overtime in the sheriff's department. It's going to increase just a lot. Costs for CSD, costs for law enforcement because of the closure of that inpatient behavioral health unit when the whole hospital closed. So.
And that's all I have for my update.
Dr. Bo, do you know what we ended up as highway fatalities this year? What our numbers are? I know it was up.
I believe it was 15 for 2023.
Wow.
So Winnebago is the nearest mental health?
Winnebago is the state mental health hospital. They're the only hospital in the state that cannot refuse someone.
Okay.
So if we call all around the local, like we had Eau Claire, we have Amory for certain folks, Wausau, La Crosse, but ultimately if they all say we're full or that person doesn't meet our criteria or whatever, then Winnebago becomes the go-to.
And you can't consider going across the river?
Can't.
Okay.
And we get folks that come to like St. Croix Regional because they're Minnesota resident because they're having a crisis and then they end up going. It's unfortunate.
And are they all private facility, privately owned? Any,
Other than Winnebago, right? Mhm. And there's also Mendota, and Mendota used to also take in a lot. Now we only see the ones that are very bordering on kind of that criminal violent stuff.
Mendota is a secured facility, so it's like a mental health prison
Yeah.
almost where they can secure them.
So we had one recently go there, but most folks end up going to Winnebago. And that's a really long drive for the deputies that are driving them down. If it happens inside of a municipality, the municipal law enforcement are supposed to be conducting that initial drive. That doesn't always happen. But even when that does, when we have to bring them back for a hearing, it statutorily falls on the sheriff's department, regardless of where the original incident occurred.
We put a lot of miles on transporting just to the different facilities up. For juveniles, Eau Claire, and then mental health is Winnebago. It seems like we're always running there.
And that's the one that closed.
No, the one in Eau Claire, JDC.
Oh, JDC, yeah. It used to be where, because there's two hearings, there's a probable cause hearing and then a final hearing. Used to be where they would have to go pick them up for every hearing. Now, most of our probable cause hearings are done by Zoom in the courtroom, which is very helpful. But it's still a lot of driving for all those final hearings. We had Cumberland, when I first started, Cumberland was another relatively local mental health facility. They closed. Now Eau Claire closing. Yeah. It's gonna get harder and then law enforcement's gonna wait longer trying to find other beds. Sitting with a person who's in a crisis and then having to drive, round trip, what is it, 13 hours?
Yeah, by the time you get, that's just the driving part. By the time you drive 4.5 hours there, you have to go through their intake process and then 4.5 hours back. So it's a minimum of 12 hours usually.
And that's after sitting at one of our local emergency rooms, getting medical clearance that can sometimes take hours as well.
We've had one go 12 hours for a medical clearance.
By statute, is that a deputy doing it?
So we do have transport people that do, some part-time employees that aren't sworn that do some transports for us, but these a lot of times are 1 o'clock in the morning when we're doing, inconvenient times.
this big question I got, is there any money in it? Should we be thinking about county facility like that?
Well, when Vince was here, and even I think when Fugie was interim county administrator, there was some talk about a St. Croix County, Polk County, what's the one right below St. Croix, is that Pierce? Pierce, and having some type of central facility, and they were looking at the old hospital in Baldwin as a potential site. And there was some movement on it, but they couldn't get the numbers, they couldn't figure out a way to make it financially viable, so it kind of fell apart. But yes, either we need someplace more local. We're lucky we have Amory, but they only take a select few. And unfortunately, other people will come to Amory Behavioral Health from other counties or out of state because they have a good facility there. and then the person has a mental health crisis there, tries to leave, and then they're emergency detained, and then it happened in Polk County. So we're doing the hearing even though they're, from somewhere else. But yeah, there was talk. I don't know that there's an easy solution.
And I'm not sure what the medical liability would be having that type of facility,
Yeah,
insurance or any of those
Trempealeau-
types.
Trempealeau County is one of the only counties in the state that has Trempealeau County Healthcare. So it's a partnership. They have an inpatient facility, and some of our longer term mental health commitments end up getting placed there. But that's the only one I'm aware of where it's, the county has, some skin in the game with the facility itself.
I would think some decisions with the St. Croix Falls medical facility being they're thinking about building. And a combined effort with 3 counties and
Yeah.
the hospital to say, okay, we're gonna have a, mental health facility as part of our, I don't know how we start that conversation, but
Well, I know it was definitely something that was being heavily explored, just a couple of years ago.
Mr. Chair, if I can add something to that, when we used to have these legislative meetings in New Richmond, excuse me, they had enough money to buy the hospital in Baldwin and everything, and the legislature, where the hangup was, they didn't come up with enough money to operate it. So the whole kit and caboodle went south. And I remember at one of those meetings, Sheriff Knutson from Baldwin, he just broke down and cried. I don't know what to do no more. He said he didn't have enough deputies to transport, and he was facing a real crisis because St. Croix County they have a lot of stats and big skin in that game.
it sounds to me like we should
So-
continue the conversation.
But we need to keep in touch with our legislators. That's one of our most pressing issues that we have.
Okay, any questions for the administrator? I guess I have one more, got a call from Jay on the way here. Can you talk a little bit about the DA looking for an investigator part-time? There's some money available, so we at least bring it out that we're looking at something.
Yes, that resolution will come next month for the investigator. The investigator is a part-time investigator that per policy we could bring on board as long as there's we have the finance for it. Currently, we have found the finance in the DA's budget to get that position through April. And what that position will do is investigate for the DA, follow-up investigations to expedite him being able to charge criminals faster in the system. So it wasn't an urgent need to get it on this agenda at this time. We do have the funding through to get that position through April.
Was it going on general government's agenda next week?
No, it was going to go in April.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it's coming.
It is coming, but it is currently we have funding for it, so it'll help him. And at that time, we'll have some numbers on how much that benefits the DA being able to expedite his charging.
And hopefully the sheriff's department as well.
Yes.
I assume they'll work together on investigations.
Right, and there's some investigations I was told that the sheriffs can't follow up on depending on where the charge is from, what community. So this investigator can follow up on those that the sheriff department is busy on other cases.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mo before we move on? Hearing none, we'll go on to Supervisor Rowdy update on snowmobiles with no snow.
Yeah, it'll be real quick because half of the group is in Wyoming snowmobiling. So they had to go find it. And the only update I have for Rod is, when I talked to Danny, he said that they were working on brushing down on cattail. They got their machine, the parts for it, and it's fixed, I guess. And then there was some problem with the tractor, but they're getting that fixed. And then they're gonna move out to Sterling and work on the loop out there. That's a little bit of update I have.
There's still no movement on the court cases. In case you were chomping at the bit.
Nothing from Judge Black.
Nothing from Judge Black and nothing from the Court of Appeals yet.
Interesting.
Okay, thanks, Doug. CJCC update.
So for February, we just had a graduation, so I would just like to thank, I know Steve was there, Don and Mo. I know the treatment court team and the participants always appreciate when we get the county board members and people from the community that attend those. And treatment court, we had 14, and then with the graduate, we'll be down to 13 again. We have 2 referrals currently for treatment court. First time offender program, we didn't have anyone in February, but we have a referral. And that individual is starting. We meet with the district attorney's office this Friday. We're redoing that program to make it an in-person and make it a little bit more of a commitment for the individual versus the way it was before. And so part of that, the jail programs officer, Lorraine, has agreed to do a jail tour. So for first time offender, not only will they go through like their actions, what it's like if you get a criminal record, but they'll get the tour of the jail. So hopefully that has a little bit of an impression. Intoxicated driver intervention program, we didn't have anyone for that in February either, but we did have 3 referrals. And then our substance diversion program, we have 4 participants as well. And then just because the judges for a few years now have been talking about pretrial, we did receive grant money this year for several of us to attend the National Pretrial Conference in New Orleans in September. So that will be myself, a case manager, a representative from the district attorney's office, a representative from the state public defender's office, and then Judge Tolan is going with for that as well.
Okay,
Did you want to share our field trip?
Oh, yeah, I can share about our field.
I think planting a seed like that now would be good.
Yeah, so we, in early February, went to Barron County to shadow their family treatment court. So that would be, it's a treatment court model similar to what we have, except instead of working with people that are in the criminal justice system, you would be working with CHIPS cases. So we would have CPS involved for something like that if we were to get that started. And then I think Malia and Lee did plan on doing just like a little pilot of selecting a couple of families and trying to at least get them meeting with a judge every couple of weeks. Get that started.
Yeah, there was a group of us that went to watch their family treatment court. And all of these are child welfare cases involving, there's alcohol, there was methamphetamine, there was cocaine with one. I thought that was very retro. And the hands-on approach that the court has when he sees them every 2 weeks holds them, more accountable. Because what we have in our cases right now, the court will see them if they're out of home once every 6 months. And so what happens is a parent a week before that court date, all of a sudden starts to do everything, like goes and gets their AODA assessment, starts going to a meeting and getting a sponsor. And so then they show up in court and say, look at what I've done, when they haven't done anything for 5.5 months. And now right before court. So this kind of takes that away and is that sort of incentive to say, well, what did you do in the last 2 weeks? It's an idea. I think it's got a lot of, evidence-based success in other places. We just have to make sure that we have the buy-in and the personalities to do it, the right social worker, the right judge, the right attorneys, all of that. But I hope to see something like that in Polk County at some point in the future. To just kind of start exploring it now is pretty cool.
Yeah, and family treatment courts have shown, if they're done well, to reduce children's time out of home, like in foster care situations or with guardians, increase placements with parents. There's typically better outcome for parents because they are getting those AODA services right away, mental health services right away. So it's really targeting, services for the families, like right away, and you have people checking in on a regular basis to make sure that's happening.
Do we have a sufficient number of a guardian ad litem people?
Yes,
They're very important in all these cases.
yes, there's some newer guardians ad litem that have started and some seasoned ones. So I think we're in a much better place since the state increased the reimbursement from $70 to $100 an hour for guardians ad litem.
Yes. That was huge. Thanks for your work on all that. Much appreciated.
That was the first time I ever went to the park. I always just went for the cake. So it was interesting. Mo and I sat together, talked a little bit about it, and hear these stories about how these people are developing and how their relationships are improving, and they're getting to see their kids and they're getting to, they're moving along. So I was pretty impressed to sit there and listen. I had no idea we were going to listen to that many stories. Well spent time. Any questions for CJCC? Moving on to 12, discussion of resolution 10-24. Resolution to amend the 24 budget to support local emergency responders. To address this one, or you want to talk about this more?
I can kick it off for you. This resolution, Steve and I've been working on. This goes back when Steve contacted me about a resolution 1622 that back in 2022, money was set aside to help, for 250,000 was set aside to help first responders and the fire stations in Polk County. And of that money, there was $778,841 left. And trying to come up with an idea of how to use that for first responders for training and recognition to keep EMTs in Polk County. So with the resolution, it divides the 78,841 in 3 different categories. 30,000 of that shall be funded to provide retention bonuses of $1,000 per person for any new EMT personnel who completes the requested training that provides emergency response service within an agency or combination of agencies for a period of at least 1 year within Polk County. $30,000 of the fund shall be allocated to medical first responder training costs that are not covered by other agency or sources. So this is their out-of-pocket costs to get reimbursed for those. And then the remaining $18,841 shall be allocated to the EMS training facility facilitated by Polk County Emergency Response Management Coordinator, and that's Lisa McMahon. So that was the resolution for the remaining funds to show support for our local emergency responders.
Well done.
Yeah, the original had too much money in there for first responder. There's no way with $50,000 set aside. It was all COVID money, so we were, setting it aside, and we didn't begin to use that much money. So it was a oversight on my part, actually, when we developed the resolution that we don't need that much money in there, but then started to learn about EMTs and how hard it is to get them and how hard it is to keep them. So, you know, that's where Brad and I started talking back and forth about, can we help that program as well? And then, of course, Lisa jumped into the conversation as well, talking about trainings coordinated with the sheriff's department on mass casualties, storms, you know, how do we train people to have enough people to take care of an event such as that? And it seemed, you know, the way the world's going, that being prepared for that would be wise at this point. So heaven forbid we ever have to deal with it. But so that's how this resolution developed into what it is today. So the money's always been there, but got overlooked somehow along the way. And when somebody asked where the money was, they said it was gone. And we need that money to stay there to help this program along. So that's what this resolution's about.
Is this just a one-time thing, or is this something then that you expect to recur each budget?
We debated that in amongst ourselves, you know, non-lapsing account. Mo, I assume this money will just stay there. We'll just have to make sure that we carry it each year. So
Yes.
that, because this program could take 10 years.
Mhm.
I mean, to use this money up.
Yeah,
But I think at the end of 10 years, it'll be, you know, we have lost a lot of first responders because of so much training, but if you take away the fact that they don't have to pay for it, you may get more back. I know our department had 18 first responders when it first came out. We were down to 5. When this program came out, we got 4 to take the training and test. So, you know, put us back to 9. So it helped in our area, and I'm sure it did in others as well. So I think it's something we should continue, and why the resolution's here. So any questions? Then we'll entertain a motion to, we're forwarding this to general government at this point, or do we forward it to county board?
Same, the budget amendment, so go to general government.
We'll go to general government also.
So motion to forward resolution 10-24 to general gov and the county board with recommendation for approval.
so move.
Second,
Motion made and second to forward resolution 10-24 to general government and county board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Infrastructure priority planning. Must be you, Mo.
I'm actually, I missed this on the agenda. I'm not quite sure what the item's about, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, go
I
ahead, Don.
think back right after the budget season in November, Chair Warrendahl and I had a conversation about how the budget worked out and how we might prioritize some infrastructure spending and start early on it. 2025 budget season, that's my recollection.
Yep.
And I mean, maybe it's just a happy accident. Today, Mo and I were talking about the list of capital improvements we'd like to make. County, we pulled a pretty decent list together. And I don't have it committed to memory, and but it was roughly something like this. We had the fairgrounds grandstand. We had the roof over CSD portion of this building. We had HVAC for the Justice Center. We had just that side. Yeah, that side of the building. We had
The Justice Center chillers and controllers.
HVAC. and Endeavor's roof,
Endeavor's roof.
and then a consideration of a high priority highway project. And we were sort of passing this back and forth. I don't know if you looked at the last thing I sent you, but I tried to kind of smooth it out. So we had somewhere between 1.2 and $2 million a year of capital expense. So if we're determined that bonding would be appropriate, those projects would not eclipse the amount that our advisors have told us we could borrow and keep our debt payment the same. So with those 5 or 6 projects over 3 years, it looked like we could do that. And you and I just haven't had a chance with Rod to discuss whether the sort of flow I put them in made any operational sense. I was just trying to line the money up. But going back to the original intent of the agenda item, I believe it was Chair Warndall, wanting the county to give serious consideration to some highway projects, given the state of the roads coming out of last winter. So we have that placeholder in the sort of imaginary CIP going into 2025 budget season. So I think it'd be appropriate at some point to talk about the prioritization of road projects.
Yeah.
I mean, today, maybe not, but at some point real soon.
Right, exactly. As Don and I met this morning on this, haven't had time to talk to Josh or Rod on this and looking through our current CIPs. And how we're trying to plot that out to keep our debt, our levy flat with our debt service, so we continue that payment. With these larger projects, the largest one being the chillers and the Justice Center. In the Justice Center with the controllers, about 1.4 million at this point on a budgetary estimate. Given the latitude to not only keep the $2 million going for highways, current road program, but then injecting throughout those years another $750,000 highway project or a $500,000 highway project as we go out to keep that debt service around that $2.4 million to $2.2 million, which will keep our levy stable on those, but be able to keep our infrastructure moving. So just had a great meeting with Don with that this morning. We were talking about it and trying to pull some things together. So that planning is in progress. Roads have not been picked out yet for that as far as the highway side goes. I just kind of put a placeholder in there for those.
Yeah, and then a real good scope of vision.
Yeah, I think that's now that I've been refreshed. What we were talking about was, squeezing a highway project in there. Because both Mo and I know, and Josh probably already knows as well, that the current rate that we're repairing highways isn't gonna keep us above water. And the costs keep going up, so we have to look to the future, talk about those monies, and all the other infrastructure things that we have. And to my understanding, we left levy money on the table besides. So we have projects we have to do, and we're not using all our levy money. Is that a true statement?
Yes, I believe the last 5 years, we still have outstanding on the books, approximately 370 some thousand of levy that was not taken over the last 5 years. That drops off if we don't.
Right, so
Goes after years. In coming to general government then on 13th, not to this meeting, there'll be Don will have some slides on the PMA debt service and how that's programmed out right now. That'll show our capacity and where that can come back in.
yeah, because after how many years did we lose it? 5. So I mean, the last thing we want to do is have things we need to do, especially on infrastructure projects, and then have the levy go away.
And we could put those together by year of what is outstanding by year, so you can see how that accumulates up to that number, but I believe it might be lower.
Mr. Chair, do you know, are we making much progress on our Pacer ratings?
Our Pacer ratings have been dipped down below 7 now. That was our goal, to remain at 7.
Or above?
Or above. Right
And
now it's dipped
we're
down.
below 7 now?
We're approximately at 6.9, 6.93 if I remember the number right. So it's slowly going down. But we're getting caught back up. We've had a lot of those roads that were done. In 2009, 2010, which were some micro thin overlays that are coming due that, they've lasted well longer than they should have. So, when they come apart, they dip from a category 7 down to a 4 to 5 really fast. So we have lost traction in our Paisley rating.
Yeah, if I remember it correct, 2009 and 10, we were way down.
Correct.
Had quite a challenge.
Yes, we had one project that was an ARA project on Y. And then, we were trying to Band-Aid a bunch of highways together with micro thin overlays.
Yep.
Well, it's a good starter. You know, I think it's something we should probably keep on here. Pull Josh into the conversation for highways and Rod for infrastructure, and keep that list out there so that everybody knows that everything isn't exactly up to par and still needs funds and money to fix them.
Well, Mr. Commissioner Henn, I know that several of the committee have been talking about some bonding to catch up on and increase our Paisley rating. So maybe we should have some more discussion on that.
Yeah, I think this will do, John. Start the conversation early and.
Exactly.
I don't know who put that in the agenda, but thanks.
It's in the work plan.
Well, I think that's you're pretty knowledgeable on that, Steve, and appreciate your vision on that.
Any questions on that then? So we're gonna do an recommendation of rules of order. I assume Malia's gonna walk through that.
Yeah, there's really not much. This is the opportunity for you as a committee to look just at the rules as it relates to your committee, not the entirety of the rules of order. I met with Shabana and we went through the rules of order meticulously, made some recommendations. Mo also reviewed those. I don't see any updates in your section. So unless there's something that you want addressed or added, nothing has evolved or changed.
There's been some additions in.
Hmm?
There have been a couple of additions in there.
In this section? Oh, so mine is no longer the red line version. That's why it looked like there was nothing in there. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, just kidding. Sorry, the one I pulled up, it said the red line version, but apparently the red lines are no longer in the red line version. So under sub E, where it talks about public safety, public works, it adds buildings and facilities and the CJCC as entities that report to and work with this committee. So that was just cleanup. Also adding the Fair Society to this committee because it's so intimately intertwined with facilities, because all of the work on the buildings that are our buildings on our property that they are using, all of it involves facilities. So it seems to make the most sense to have that entity at least be the type of entity that reports to this committee. And we changed it because when Jay Luke replaced CJ on the CJCC as a member of the CJCC, we had to remove the part that assigns a member of this committee to the CJCC. Jay Luke is serving in that capacity right now, and he's just the full county board chair. But that can be anyone. Nothing is saying that the next county board can't assign someone that's from this committee to the CJCC. It seems to make sense because the CJCC reports to this committee, that in the future consideration at least be given to a member of this committee to serve on the CJCC. But because Jay is serving in that capacity, this is removed. I wish Shabana was here. It was probably about a month or two ago that we went through this. And so,
Sure.
and I didn't bring my readers and this is really tiny.
It is tiny. Okay, so those are the only changes then to,
Yes,
Unless there was something that you wanted to bring up.
you guys wanted to change.
I think it's all copacetic.
we'll run with that then, John. Okay. Unless anybody has any further comments on the rules of order,
It's okay.
our work plan.
And then on the work plan, we'll just move that infrastructure priority planning to include it in a few months here as we get into budget process and stuff, so we continue the conversation.
Yeah, that's good.
Then an April update from the Fair Society, I'll make contact with them for that. Hopefully we'll have our preliminary plans back from Cedar Core on the grandstand.
Yeah, we had a meeting down there with Cedar Corp. We went over placement, size, costs, kicked around a lot of ideas. And they're working on a plan right now for that grandstand. Well, then there's only one thing left. Made. Second to adjourn, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.